I'm talking with my dear friend Philip here today, aka Phil, and we're just going to have a very chill conversation about creativity and all that good stuff. So I just wanted to start by asking you, Phil, like we live in a world where like labels are very important to some people. How do
Mm.
you label yourself as a musician? Do you call yourself a songwriter
Mm.
or is that something that you don't even ever think about?
You know what? I think I can't. There's so many like different categories I put myself under.
Yeah.
So I think songwriter is one of them. Creative. Yeah, I don't like to pigeonhole myself because I think now we're evolving to a different kind of way of presenting ourselves. I feel like people can kind of wear different hats now
Mm.
with social media and yeah, and with AI. So I'm probably digital creator or, holistic health coach, songwriter, music artist. There are all these different variations I'll go under. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I totally get that because even just for myself, like having been like, a huge lover of film and going to film school and then now just like focusing on screenwriting and at one point I wanted to write a novel and now even doing this content creation stuff, it can be so hard to find a title that kind of fits what
Mm.
it is that you're trying to do, especially when you're still kind of in the process of becoming that person too. I
Mm.
won't speak for you, but definitely for myself, like I feel like I'm in the very early stages of doing all the creative things that I want to do. So
Mhm.
it can sometimes feel intimidating to even put that title on yourself. Like I've only just started becoming comfortable telling people that I'm a writer and I write purely from the perspective that I spent most of my time doing that every day.
Right.
But still, it feels like a weird thing to say, right? So yeah, I was just
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
because I know you do a lot of
Mm.
songwriting. So is that yeah, whether that's something that you do that you say to people, but yeah, we are definitely
Mm.
quite multifaceted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's also like I don't know, maybe it's a cultural thing. It's also like, a few generations ago, you would always present yourself to people socially as a certain way. You'll be
Mm.
like, this is my profession, I'm a doctor or I'm a musician or whatever it is. But yeah, as I said, like I think now you can wear different hats. So is there a word that defines that? I see the word digital creator around a lot. So I don't know, maybe I've seen that and I'm like, maybe is that what I am?
Yeah.
Maybe I am a digital creator. It doesn't matter. Like I'm just putting stuff out there, whatever it is, and people can define me how they want.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's a good
Mm.
attitude to have. So you're more laid back about it and it doesn't phase you as much
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
sounds of it,
yeah. I
right?
don't think, yeah, I think the old model of how people, if they're an actor or, musician, whatever it is, like I feel like that's changing
Mm.
and we need to change with the times. Yeah. I think, yeah, like with AI now, it's changing the whole landscape. Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
interesting.
Mm.
Do you have any thoughts on like what it's changing specifically or how it's impacting you, or you think it's just like the
Yeah,
general
yeah, totally. Yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah, like songwriters are definitely worried about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like
Yeah, I imagine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I'm not so worried about it, but I know a lot of artists are in that. Like it's incredible how you can use an app and you can create like a high quality song. The voice can sound, you can still tell at this stage the voice
Yeah.
if it's AI or if it's real, but it's very subtle. And this is right now. So, given a few more advancements in the
Mm.
technology, and I'm sure they will perfect that.
Yes.
So, what does that mean for songwriters or musicians. Like for producers, well, producers literally have a keyboard
Mm.
and and they use a door like a software to now. you can just pop in like a few words and say, I want strings in this, I want. So basically, producers have to learn how to use AI.
Yeah.
Um, but it cuts the time, but like all of that creativity that, I don't know. So I find that producers, it's a challenge, and then for songwriters, writing lyrics, like, I guess we just got to adapt to be able to use the technology to our advantage.
Yep.
But it's kind of like leveled out the playing field because everyone can now be an artist with little effort, that's the worry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots of interesting points in there, and obviously creativity in AI is a very big topic in and of itself. It's something that I think about a lot, but I'm not particularly worried about it just yet. Like I understand all of the potential issues, some of which that you've mentioned right now, but um, I just wonder if AI will end up becoming more like a tool to help us create the things we want to create, but not actually replace the creativity aspect of it.
Mm,
But
mm,
yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning that we're dealing with a level of AI that's at a certain point right now, but three,
hmm
5, 10 years from now, obviously it's just going
Yeah.
to evolve and
Yeah.
become more intelligent. So what's it going to do then? But I do just
Mm,
wonder, like, is it the same argument we have every time a new disruptive technology comes around? Like, for instance,
hmm
in the animation industry in the early
mm,
2000s, there was a lot of talk about 3D animation replacing 2D animation, for instance. I know
hmm
it's a very specific
mm.
uh, uh
Oh yeah, that
but
happened.
it
Yeah.
was a yeah,
Pixar and yeah,
with
yeah.
Pixar coming around,
Mm,
a lot of 2D artists thought that they were going to get replaced by
hmm
3D animators.
hmm
But if you listen to a lot of artists at Pixar talk about it, they will tell you that 3D never it's not about replacing jobs. It's about using the
mm,
computer as a tool to
mm.
create animation in a way that couldn't be done before, and in a sense,
Yeah.
it's created more jobs. So
Mm,
I mean, I guess that is also like a really big topic in and of itself. But I wonder
mhm,
if AI is just like the next version of that, the next evolution. I think it
mm,
also just depends on what what you're using it for specifically.
mhm,
I think yeah,
mm,
writing is an interesting one.
mhm,
At the moment, it's really good to use for things like, oh, well, what's like a better word for this, or
mm,
what's a stronger verb that I can use in this sentence, or something like
mhm,
that. But I've
mm.
found that trying to actually create something from it, like a short story,
Yeah.
it's not that particularly
Good
strong.
at that.
It's a yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah.
It's a really yeah it's a big topic, but I feel like
Mm,
we don't have to worry about it so much right now. And I think even
mhm,
you Gary Vaynerchuk, you know of him, don't you?
mhm,
He talks about how it might even end up becoming a thing where it works in our favor, where people prefer
mhm. Yeah. The
consuming art
original.
that comes from people, like human
Yeah.
art versus AI art. Like that
Mhm.
could even just end up becoming a thing. The two could coexist. It's so hard to
Yeah.
know where it would go from
Well,
here.
put it this way, like yesterday I recorded like a promo video for a song I'm releasing, and the reason why I did it was because I fear that when people hear the song, they'll be thinking that it was AI generated.
Mm,
But it was original, and I put in a lot of effort and a lot of time to, work on my vocals to make it sound good. Um, so yeah, I feel like I don't know, like yeah, it's just a murky thing. But you're right. I do think that AI is meant to amplify your skills. So if you already got the skill set, if you already know the little ins and outs of what a professional would do in making music, then you would just use AI as a tool to amplify that.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a really big topic.
Mm.
But yeah, I definitely want to cover a lot of different aspects of creativity in the short time that we have right now.
Yeah,
So
sure, sure. Yeah.
I'll switch it up and ask
Mm.
you, in terms of your songwriting, is that something
Mm.
that you have nurtured from like a very young age, or something that you've
Mm.
developed recently?
Yeah, that's I've never been asked that before.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I always
No,
wonder.
I
I wonder
never
like
even
if
thought about
people
that.
carry
Yeah.
it from childhood and then nurture it into adulthood, or whether it's something they find later in life.
No, I think ooh, no, the art of songwriting is a skill,
Mm.
and I had to learn that. And I think it was during COVID time that I went enrolled myself in a course with professional songwriters that taught me how to break down the process.
Yeah, wow.
Um, yeah, and so there's things that go into it, like structuring the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, uh, and there's something called a bridge sometimes if you want to keep that in or not, and
Yeah.
so there's a format that you follow, and then even like how to get the ideas, original ideas, and how to find the words, make the verse kind of sound in a certain way, rhyme, create a storyline arc for the song.
Mm.
Like the verse sets the scene, and then you kind of like get the listener on a bring the listener on a journey to the chorus, which is like the peak of the story, and so there's a lot that goes into it. And yeah, I've never really done songwriting before that, because if you don't know these things, then how do you even write songs? You would just free write poetry,
Yeah.
but even poetry is not enough to write a song,
Sure. But
like
even within
yeah.
poetry, there'll be structure as well in certain depending on the type of poetry that
There's
you're doing.
rhyming. Yeah, I think there's yeah. But yeah, like you would put poetry would be like a great way to like it's a great source
Mm.
to then take that out and extract it and create like a structured song. Because if you listen to songs, they are structured.
Mm.
Every song you listen to us is structured. It'll start off with something just very base line, a story, and then it picks up, and then it goes somewhere, takes you somewhere, and then it comes back down again,
Yep.
and then and then resets and then starts rising again, so in different ways depending on what the song's about. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a process to everything, and that's kind of like what I've been obsessed with this past year as well, is figuring out like the structure and the process of writing, which is obviously like a very vague and general thing to undergo in songwriting. I can already see there are some similarities there, but obviously a lot of differences
Mm.
between that and screenwriting as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a very important thing to learn. But I'm curious specifically, like once you got into this process and you really felt like, okay,
Mm.
this was something that you want to pursue,
Yeah.
how challenging has it been in terms of sharing that like with your family and friends? Have they always been
Mm.
very supportive of that, or have you received any
Mm.
pushback on that journey?
Yeah, that's like the funny thing is my mum's family is very musical. So
Yeah.
my mum is a professional singer, or she was a professional Indian music artist. And my all of my relatives on my mum's side of the family, we used to have concerts like in our language Tamil.
Yeah.
So we would have like, concert events once a year in Melbourne, and invite the whole community, the diaspora, expats. They would come and we'd run a concert. And so I would be exposed to that growing up and seeing that. But I never, on my dad's side of the family, he was like non-music. So he was more like education, study, be
Mm,
a doctor, be an engineer, be a lawyer, something, of academic value. So I was torn between the two, and I somehow suppressed my creativity as a child, even though it's always what I wanted to do and explore.
yeah.
I always felt, I don't know, embarrassed to kind of, yeah, reveal, to be bold enough to express myself, my creativity, to
Mm,
sing. I always was shy to sing because I was like, oh, what if I don't sound good? That. It's always there. Like, oh, does it sound good? Like, will people actually appreciate this, or will they think it's shit?
Yeah, yeah, of
Um,
course. So how old were you
and
having those thoughts or those questions?
I think like once I hit my teenage years, I actually wanted to be a professional music artist, more
Mm,
so a producer because I loved music. And
yep.
there's a producer at that time who's now everybody knows who he is, but A.R. Rahman.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
yeah.
like the maestro, yeah, of Indian cinema music. And
Yes, he's made some
I
bangers in
was,
the Bollywood industry.
yeah, but like when I was a teen, like growing up listening to his music, the way he would weave like melodies together and take different sounds and integrate them into Indian music. Um, yeah, like I wanted to do that. And then on the other side, I would listen to hip hop and I was like, what if I combine the two? What if I always think of things like that would
Yes.
be new, that would be different, a different
Yeah.
sound.
I've thought about that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, so like it took me a while to actually build the courage to then step into the arena of being a songwriter, singer-songwriter.
Mm.
Um,
Do you, I
to
didn't know you sang. That's interesting.
You didn't know
We
I
got to do the
sang?
yeah.
Well, until now?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean?
We have to do these interviews more often.
Oh, well, I've shared songs, haven't I? You haven't heard any of my songs.
I don't think so. You've shared like your songwriting with me. I don't think I've heard any of your
Oh,
actual songs.
really? Right, okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, so I mean that's,
Something to
and even
share afterwards. Yeah.
even understanding like to be a singer
Yep.
is actually anyone can do it, but it takes a lot of hard work because you have
Yeah.
to train your voice. And if you know how to do that, then you can actually, and that's what I had to learn. And I picked that up from watching my mum. But I
Yeah.
think the first thing is it doesn't even matter how much you train your voice, it's in here. It's the overcoming the self-worth and whether the fears of how you'd be judged, how you'd be
Yeah.
received, overcoming that and being confident in yourself, yeah, and owning your own voice, owning your
Yeah.
own persona.
You feel like your parents were happy to see you step into that that role? Because I know for me personally, it's a really interesting contradiction in Indian culture where music and dancing and acting is like a huge part of the culture because we have Bollywood and like you said, we've always had the events and kids
Mhm.
are always encouraged to be very performative at a young age. But
Yeah.
if you show any signs of interest of wanting to pursue that as an adult, that
Yeah.
gets shut down very
Yeah.
quickly and
Yeah.
you're ostracized and made to
Mhm.
feel silly for wanting to even suggest that, even crazy, dare I say, which I always thought was a very
Mhm.
interesting contradiction in our culture because you've
Mhm.
kind of exposed your kid to this way of life. It's such a big part of the
Mhm.
culture, but it's not
Mhm.
okay to want to,
Mhm.
dedicate your life to it in a sense. So
Mhm.
I know for me when everybody else I knew, all the other Indian kids were pursuing like medicine as a career after year 12 and I said I
Mhm.
wanted to go to film school. Everybody just like, cocked their head to the side and looked at me like I was
Yeah.
insane. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just curious to know if you had a similar experience or if your community was more
Mm.
supportive of you.
No, my family are very logical.
Mm.
And it's funny, like even though a lot of my family are musical as well, they don't see music as like a career path to be financially stable.
Yep.
So, it's not something that I probably am, I'm not open with totally with them because I feel like I receive a lot more negativity around it. Like, why don't you I get more advice on why don't you pursue this avenue or that? Well,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
if you want to be successful in anything, you've got to go all the way. You have to believe in yourself at no at whatever the cost it might be, you know.
Yeah.
You've got to burn all bridges and go for it. And I had to, it took me a while to actually, I had to burn all of my bridges to get to this point. But I think when you get to that point where you've burnt all those bridges, then you're free
Right.
and nothing's holding you back, and so that's when you really get to enjoy. You're not answerable to anyone. You can just do whatever you want, and when you're not constricted by anything or anyone, then I find that your creativity flows more, and yeah, it just grows.
I love that. I love that idea of burning bridges because I think I've thought about that as well. That, how important is that the best way to go about it? Because it almost feels like, yeah, you have to do that to reach that level of uh to it's almost like you can't get there unless you know there's no other option or avenue. As long as there's always a plan B, you
Mm.
have an excuse or a reason to
Yeah.
take a step back from whatever
Yeah, it's
creative
energy.
work.
It's energy, right? So if you
Yeah.
always think like I can lean on this, well, you're not going full throttle towards what your goal is. You
Mm.
can think you can think that you can, but you're not really. If you're
Mm.
being honest with yourself, you're not going all the way with it. When you have your back to your wall, back when your back's to the wall, you've got no choice. You just got to go hammer it.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's an amazing feeling to be when you're in that spot. It's like it sucks when you back your uh how do you say your
Yeah,
back's to
you're
the wall.
backs to the wall.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, it sucks when you're in that situation, but it's also it's like you're excited because it's like you're living in the moment and you're seeing things happening around you as you're living in that moment.
Mm.
I'm in the beginning stages of that now. But for me, like my music, everything that I do, what's exciting for me about it is there's no limitations to it because the whole goal of what I'm doing has no expectations around it.
Yeah.
It's all about bringing positive light to humanity. Like and it goes down, into my beliefs as well as a human, like, and my connection to who I understand God to be like all of that. It's like, well, as how many ever days I have left on this earth, that's
Mm.
always going to be my goal. I just got to pursue that, and there's no end to it. There's no limitation to it. I'm just every day, every little thing that I do is I'm achieving my goal.
I really love that. It kind of ties into something we were talking about the other day, which is, I expressed to you that I don't consider myself particularly religious, but if I were to follow a religion, I would consider creativity my religion, which I'm still trying to navigate exactly what I mean when I say that. But I think what I'm trying to say, and it's similar to what you were explaining right now, is that it's not a hobby. I think a lot of times people think that we, we write on the side or people paint on the side, and it's something they do to fill in time between other aspects of their life. And I'm not sure if this is true for you, but it is for me. I'm kind of realizing that it's so much more than that. It's like a lifestyle. It's a link between almost like a spiritual entity and myself. Like it feels like a higher power when I'm focused on my writing. It feels so much bigger than me and everything else in my life. And I just want to be able to create and facilitate a lifestyle that gives me the most amount. Sorry, I'm like wrong time to be sick. But yeah, like a lifestyle that I can maximize my time and energy that I
Mhm.
put into something like that. Not like just something that I do for 10 minutes on the weekends between my day
Mhm.
job and other things. But yeah, just really
Yeah.
want that to be like a part of my life. It feels like this really, really big thing, which to me sounds similar to
Mhm.
kind of what you were explaining before. Obviously, I know religion is a big deal for you, so I'm not saying that you see it that way. But
I kind of do.
yeah,
Yeah, I kind of do because I do believe that regardless of religion, I do think that we're not here on this earth in this time. by coincidence. I always feel like, the people that we know in our lives is for a reason.
Hmm.
And our souls were sent here for some reason. For me personally, I've always known intrinsically that my soul was here for a greater purpose, to inspire people, to bring light on the earth. Um, and I feel like if you have that kind of, I don't know, if you have that kind of connection or understanding to life, then even when whatever you're doing, even in your creativity, it just gives more meaning to it. Because it's like, actually, my creativity, whatever I'm doing, is what the expression of my soul, and however that looks like, is a benefit to the planet. So
Yeah,
it's more about, it's not even about yourself, it's about the greater purpose.
greater purpose. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Um, how much time is this? Oh, okay, cool. Still got 10 minutes. That's all good. Um, yeah, I was just gonna say that I think also part of what makes it so important is that I believe everybody is intrinsically creative. Like it's not something that you have to learn or only some people have. I think
Hmm.
everybody is creative in their own way. And it's the reason
Hmm.
that I've stayed away from trying to define what creativity even is, even though I know we're talking about creativity, because it is kind of difficult to define because to me it's essentially just a way that people express uh it's an expression of themselves and what they have in their mind and being able to make
Hmm.
something physical from that, which is something that everybody is able to do. But it just feels like in the world that we live in, it's stifled at a very young age and not really, it's not really encouraged as a way
Yeah.
to make money or indulge yourself in, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
But which is yeah,
Yeah.
which is really sad, I think, because I
Mm.
think it's really important, and it sounds like it's very important to you too. But I guess
Yeah.
the flip side of that is with our busy lifestyles and our schedules, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
has a day job.
Mhm.
How do you make time for it? I say to a
Mm.
lot of people that time is usually not even the issue because you can have an hour here and there after work and on the weekends and stuff. But it's the energy. Your
Mm.
energy gets zapped from everything else that you
Mhm.
have to
Yeah.
push yourself to do and all your other
Mm.
commitments. That even when you have the time, if you have an hour, it might take you an hour just to decompress to then get
Yeah.
into the energy to be able to create. So I don't know, is that
Yeah.
something that you that challenges
Oh,
you as well? Yeah.
I struggle with that. Of course, like you've heard me go on about that. Like, um, struggle with that every day. I think that's the reality of life. So for whatever reason, I feel like, creativity is suppressed in the world
Mm,
because, so in a sense, maybe humanity is chained. I don't know how or why, but energetically, we're not able to express ourselves and the reason why I say that is because the circumstances that most of humanity have to live through is one of struggle.
mm,
Most of the planet is not free to do what they like to do. So that's the reality. And, for some reason, our souls were born into certain circumstances and we've got to find a way out of it. So that means if you have to do a day-to-day job, you got to find a way and you have to
mm.
build the resilience to kind of do that and find a way no matter what. Because if you don't find a way, then how's the future generations or the future of humanity, how are they going to find their freedom? It's got to start
Yeah.
with, yeah. So in it, that's how I look at it. Doesn't saying that doesn't make it any easier though. You're right. It drains your energy when you have to do a 9 to 5 job. Even for a creative, like for a music artist, for a music artist that devotes their entire life towards music and doesn't do a 9 to 5 job. I know some people, some artists, like there's one particular artist I did a collab with recently who that's his full-time job. But
Mm,
what he does to earn a living, he goes and busks on the street.
yep.
So he relies on the uncertainty of whether he'll get paid by passers-by.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is that though?
Yeah, that's insane.
You know, and
In today's cost of living,
there
that's insane. Yeah.
yeah, it's not feasible, you know. So,
Yeah.
but there's regardless, there's always the struggle. It's just what's your way to get through it, and as long as you have that goal and you never give up and you move towards it,
Yeah.
eventually, I believe you will get there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's probably a really good place to wrap it up. I will also just quickly add in as well that I think thanks to social media and the internet, like even us being able to do this interview
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
like a really good step in the right direction for
Yeah.
creatives, even though
Mm.
sometimes it doesn't always feel that way. But yeah, it's just yeah, it's an interesting time that we live in,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you feel that way and you see it as like a collective movement and something that we should all move towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I
Well, thanks for
appreciate that,
having me
man.
on.
Oh no, well, thanks for coming, Phil. This was really good. We should do this again sometime because I feel like everything that we touched on we could have spoken in much more
Absolutely.
yeah, like
Yeah.
on a deeper level. So we'll
Mhm.
definitely have to reconnect and do this again sometime. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you wanted to share about like what you're doing or where people can find you or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, so you could follow me on Instagram, Maitreya Philip. That's with Maitreyaphilip. So you can follow my handle there. I'm also on TikTok as the World Avatar, TheWorldAvatar. And yeah, just promoting my messages of inspiration and my music. So yeah, just go there and you'll see what everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're super active on social, so you'll definitely see a lot there. Uh, thanks,
Thanks,
Phil.
T.
Appreciate it.